Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. Now Deontay Wilder is taking legal action against Tyson Fury, and he has attempted to have a mediation with Fury and his team over this situation. Now obviously they did have a contract in place that stipulated Wilder gets a rematch if Tyson Fury beats him. The contract was also mirrored so that if Tyson Fury lost the fight he would be able to enforce a rematch on Deontay Wilder, but clearly there was a deadline. There was a point where there was a cut-off and this contract could no longer stipulate that the loser was no longer able to enforce their position. That clearly has happened because there have been lawyers looking over the contract on Team Fury and with Top Rank as well, and they said and confirmed the contract has expired, so Tyson Fury can move on. But mediation is the first step for Team Wilder with regards to trying to force Tyson Fury to take that third fight. Now apparently the mediator will be a retired judge and he would decide on the arbitration binding within this contract, and obviously that is the first step for Team Wilder. Shelley Finkel has said we are going into this very optimistically this week, and apparently they are very confident with this case. Now obviously Tyson Fury had reason to believe that he could move beyond this contract and this obligation with Deontay Wilder. That is why he put into place a date in the UK, 5th of December, and he is looking to fight Ajit Kabayel. So Tyson Fury believed that he was well within his rights to move away from this trilogy with Wilder, because there was a date put into place that was moved, then moved again, then there were 3 dates in December, 5th, 12th I believe, and the 19th, but none of those dates come off. So Tyson Fury was in a position, does he waste his time trying to get this Deontay Wilder rematch on, or does he move on and refuse to allow his career to stagnate? As a result of that, he chose option 2, he's going to move on. Tyson Fury decided that he wanted to move on because he had waited time and time again and given them every opportunity to make the fight. Every date that they said they wanted to do, Tyson Fury agreed to, and it got to the point where it was ridiculous. It was drawn out and they fought on February 22nd. They were supposed to fight again in July, I believe. Then it was October, then December. So you can see that it was continuously moved back. Obviously, you have the pandemic. That is one thing that was always going to get in the way of this. But there are fights that have been happening behind closed doors. Now, whether there was a reluctance behind the scenes of Deontay Wilder's team, where they wanted to maximize their revenue from this fight, because no disrespect, but if Wilder is fighting Tyson Fury again, then there is a huge possibility that he's going to lose again, because Deontay Wilder did not look good in that second fight. He looked completely out of place. So if that happens again, where is Wilder? Does he retire? Is that it for Deontay Wilder in the sport of boxing? So you kind of have to see it as like a cash out for Wilder. I'm not necessarily saying that that was the plan for Deontay Wilder because I don't know, but I'm just thinking that if this would be his last fight against Tyson Fury, he needs to maximize his revenue because that will be the last revenue that he will earn from boxing. So he's not going to take less to fight behind closed doors in a fight that is as risky as a Tyson Fury. So I guess that was kind of the mindset behind the scenes with Deontay Wilder. He's not going to take less money because the problem is it could be the last money he earns from boxing, because if he gets beat again, he is in a position where he can come back, but you have to wonder, is he going to want to fight Oscar Rivas, Michael Hunter, Joseph Parker, and fighters like that, Andy Ruiz as well, Alexander Usyk? Is he going to want to take those fights to get back to the big time? That is the big question for Deontay Wilder. Now, the reason why we find ourselves in this situation is because they were supposed to fight in July. That is when the rematch was cited for. Then Deontay Wilder has something in the contract that allows him to postpone for 90 days provided they have an injury. That is what Wilder had done. He had an injury so he could not fight in July. Then it was moved back to October 3rd, or slated for October 3rd, and that was when the fight was supposed to happen. But then again, it did not happen still. Then they were looking at dates in December, but again, it was apparently college football or something like that, or the NFL. There were football games going on in December. That meant the fight could not happen. But then again, there is always the question, does that not happen every December? I know that because of the pandemic it was moved back, but there's always other sports going on, and there are still boxing events happening in the month of December, so it hasn't stopped them, so why should it stop this one? I know this one's a lot bigger and on a different level to many other events. I get that, but you have to consider the fact that the heavyweight division will stagnate as a result of this, so that cannot be allowed to happen. Progress must continue. Anthony Joshua is fighting a mandatory, Kubrat Pulev behind closed doors. He's going to lose a lot of money on that, so is Pulev, but they're doing it anyway because they need to move and keep the heavyweight division rolling. That is what they are doing by making sure that these fights happen, because otherwise the heavyweight division just stops. It doesn't move along. And other weight classes, other fighters, it just stops if they don't keep it moving. So that is what Tyson Fury has tried to do. Keep his career moving and to keep the heavyweight division moving, because obviously Tyson Fury wants to fight Anthony Joshua. That is very important to him next year. He cannot do that if he constantly has Deontay Wilder hanging off of his coat string saying that he wants this rematch, but then never agreeing to a date and making sure that it happens, because they were then talking about February. After that point, Tyson Fury said, after all of these moved dates, he's not fighting next year for Deontay Wilder. He will fight Deontay Wilder this year or it doesn't happen. Simple as that. So they were given that ultimatum. They were given that opportunity. Fight Tyson Fury this year or don't fight him at all. Because the first fight happened, or the second fight happened, on February 22nd, at the beginning of the year. Then what are they going to do? Make him wait a whole year before he fights again? Tyson Fury was not willing to allow that to happen. And Tyson Fury's co-promoter, Top Rank, argue that the rematch clause doesn't exist in perpetuity. The fight, as per the contract, needed to take place by mid-October. Tyson Fury agreed to bypass that and hold the fight in December because of the pandemic. So considering that has happened and Tyson Fury did agree to move it to December and that fell through, there was no longer any obligation to fight Deontay Wilder in a rematch, because he had the 90-day suspension because of an injury that he claimed in July. Then from October to December, it was because of the pandemic and because Team Wilder could not settle on a suitable date in October. So then it was projected for December, but that wasn't because of injury. So Deontay Wilder had that suspension due to injury, but the second suspension was due to the pandemic, which I guess was in the contract, a force majeure saying that if there is something such as a pandemic, then that date is pushed back. The time that Wilder has is extended. I guess he's had that, but he failed to put a date in place for the rematch, meaning Tyson Fury is no longer obligated to do so because the contract has expired, because they missed the opportunity, the window that they had to fight in December. And now Tyson Fury has decided that he wants to move on and move forwards with his career with a fight in the UK on the 5th of December. Deontay Wilder still believes, and his team still believe, that Tyson Fury owes him a rematch, which I'm guessing they are projecting for spring next year now, because it won't happen this year. Because Shelley Finkel said they want this sorted by the end of the year. They want this all wrapped up and sorted by then, meaning that spring will be the projected date. If Deontay Wilder's team get their way, meaning Undisputed between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury will be put into huge doubt. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.